Hello, and welcome to another episode of MILF Ministry. My name is Ayodele. I'm your host. I'm known as the Motivational MILF, and I also am known as the Professional Alchemist. Um, Today is a solo episode. As I sit here today, I think about some of my earliest episodes of MILF Ministry, and I think about why I'm here and my purpose. And I told myself I was not going to start or relaunch MILF Ministry unless I was 100% committed to it, meaning that I was prepared to record episodes in batches, prepared to post episodes weekly, just because I understand that consistency is the number one thing that helps you grow whatever you're working on. And I realized that was going to take a level of commitment and discipline for me. That meant even if I didn't feel like I was having a good hair day, even if people canceled recording, even if I wasn't in the best of mood, I was going to be here and show up for myself, but also for other people. In this time, it has really been on my spirit that I need to be focused on doing more community events. COVID, the period of basically 2024 until now, has been a very isolating time for me. And I've just been feeling this very strong urge to just have events, whether they're health related, wellness related, or entertainment related. And by health and wellness, I mean dance class, going on hikes, just doing the things that I naturally love to do. But doing things that are wellness related and inviting women out to celebrate and share space with me. But outside of celebration, creating a safe space for us to learn how to raise our vibration. So many times when I tell people I have a podcast named MILF Ministry, they get caught up in the whole idea of MILF and Mother I Love to Fuck, and they're waiting for the sexiness, the sexy talk. And I'm realizing more and more and more, none of that matters if you're not happy, if you don't feel good internally. So there are times when I may look good, but I don't feel good. And there are times where I feel really, really good on the inside, but my hair may not be done or whatever. And I'm realizing that like none of that matters. The only thing that really truly matters in my mission with starting this podcast is the connection that I want to have with people. Today, I wanted to sit down and talk to everyone about this concept I've really been studying and thinking about for a long time, which is this concept of a self-care bill and the discipline around self-care. So I would say up until about 2 years into the pandemic, I was okay. And when I say okay, I'm saying okay loosely because, like, once again, being isolated is kind of tough. You know, my daughter's an only child. I don't have actual family members here. Everyone that I'm close to out here in Los Angeles is a friend. So it was really hard to kind of like rebuild relationships and feel safe during the first couple of weeks. Well, actually, let me rephrase that. So I don't have family in Los Angeles. Everyone out here is a friend. And so when the pandemic first hit, everyone was kind of terrified and trying to find their way in terms of like, what safety? What are we going to follow? Okay, I'm comfortable following this. I'll hang out with this group of people. But I'd say after COVID or in the midst of COVID, 2022 was the first year where I realized, like, man, I didn't relaunch my podcast. Okay. And I'm not feeling my happiest self. And that was one of the first times where I was working but not happy. Typically, if I'm struggling financially, I'm not happy. But just like most people, that's a normal thing. But it was one of the first times where I was very emotional and sad going to work. And I've been working remotely the whole time since COVID. So I had worked remotely before 2020, but from 2020 to now, which is basically 5 years, I have been working remotely, which basically means working at home by myself because I don't live with anybody. And so 2022 was my second year of working remotely by myself and being terribly unhappy with work and how I was making money, and just starting to feel really sad and frustrated because I'm like, as a mother, it's irresponsible to just quit my job because I'm not happy. But as a human, it was becoming irresponsible to stay in this environment that was literally torturing me on an emotional level. And what I mean by that, for context, is working underneath a manager that was doing everything in their power to sabotage me. They would call meetings during my scheduled break time that they had asked me to let them know about weeks in advance. They asked for everyone's schedule and was like, hey, we're not going to schedule meetings during anyone's lunch times. Everyone gave their lunchtime. The person started scheduling meetings during my lunchtime. The person was complaining to upper management that I was asking for notes. I am hyper aware of how I learn. And so I'm great at advocating for what I need to be successful at work. So if there are policies that need to be implemented, or a system that needs to be in place, or a protocol that needs to be followed, I'm going to ask for it in writing so that I can refer back to it as I go through my day. And they would say, we're referring to everyone in our reports now by the last name only. Okay, cool. A week passes by. We're referring to everyone in our reports with first name, initial, last name. Okay, cool. Okay, we're going back to last name only. Like, that's the kind of stuff. And you would literally get docked if you didn't remember. This week it was last name. Next week is first initial. Just the most ridiculous things. They would be like, oh, we're docking you today because you didn't do this properly. So I'm not used to working in an environment like that. I'm used to working in an environment where everyone wants to make sure that you know what you're doing properly, and everyone is in 100% support of, oh, you need notes? Sure. Of course we have a training material. We're updating it. We're going to send you the email. Or we just changed the protocol. We realize that it might take you a week or two to understand this new workflow. So please be mindful that after the next week or two, we will be penalizing you for making certain mistakes. I'm used to working for teams where things like this are reasonable, especially, like I said, when the changes just happen so frequently. And some of them are, in a work meeting, some of them are in an email, and it's just hard to keep track. Okay. This was the first time I was working somewhere and had experienced that in such a heavy way. And I talked to my family and talked to my mother, and my mother was like, you don't sound good. And I told her, I said, I want to quit this job, but this is a tough economy. And I have never been in the business of quitting a job when I don't know what else I'm going to get. And worse, I live in LA where things are expensive, and, God forbid, it's hard for me to find work or whatever. Like, I just don't want to do that to myself as a single mother. And my mom was like, if you are not happy emotionally, you're going to make yourself sick, because stress kills. So you need to be honest with yourself about how you're feeling. You need to be honest with yourself about how you're feeling at this job. And unknowingly, she reminded me of conversations that I had with her. She reminded me of conversations that I've had with my grandparents in the past. And my grandfather, I'm Jamaican 100% on both sides of my family for generations. And we're known as having, 3, 4 jobs, 5, 6, 7 jobs. That's what we're known. But my grandfather was a stickler for, if I'm working somewhere and I'm not happy, to quit that motherfucking job. Okay, my grandfather did not care. He would be like, if you're not happy, quit the job. If people are being disrespectful to you at work, quit the job. Now, obviously, go find other work. But he was never an advocate for being in an environment where I felt like people were intentionally coming after me and just, being obnoxious or stuff like that. He was never an advocate for that. And so when I spoke to my mother that day and she said, "You really don't sound good." And I said, Grandpa Vassal would have told me to quit this job. And she was like, "Well, if you're looking for a reason or you're looking for an excuse or you're looking for some sort of validation, take the single motherhood, take living LA, take everything out of it and just think about the stock of people that you come from." And so I quit the job. And this is not a fairy tale of like, oh, and life was magically great. It was not. It was not. Things have been very challenging since that time. However, one thing has become crystal clear to me, which is the concept of the self-care bill. I think it's really important that when I talk about MILF Ministry, I talk about how important it is to take care of yourself as a woman, as an individual outside of motherhood, so that when it comes to motherhood, you can be the best version. And by best version, I simply mean you can have the patience and the capacity to show up for your children. If you are stressed out of your mind, if you are not taking care of yourself in the smallest ways, it's going to be difficult to show up for your child in the best way possible. If you are a single mother and you have even more responsibility on your shoulders and you don't learn how to say no, you don't know how to say I'm tired, you don't know how to say I'm not in the best mood right now, I need a moment, I need to take a walk, I'm going to pick you up 30 minutes later, I need you to order pizza tonight. Like, if you don't learn how to actually communicate your needs with all the people in your life, things can be unnecessarily challenging. And so, why does all this matter? All this matters is because sex is a part of enjoying life, but for so many women, we can't even get to the thought of thinking about sex because we're unhappy in so many other areas of our life. So part of what I really want to do with this relaunch is advocate for more self-care, for more kindness, for more grace. And that could simply mean you get up one day and you feel overwhelmed and you stop and you acknowledge it. And if you have a job that has paid time off, you take it that day. If you have children that are old enough to take an Uber to school, you send them to school in an Uber instead of taking them to school that day. Or you ask someone close to you to help take them to school that day or pick them up from school that day. Or make arrangements with people in your life to say, hey, one day out of the week, can you just do one way of the commute? Can you just pick up my child or children from school on Tuesdays? Take them to school on Tuesdays. I'm talking small baby steps. And if you can't do it every week, once a month, hey, can one of you, someone in my life, someone, like I said, once again, whether it's Uber or friends in your life, or maybe you have a new partner, ask for help so that you can start to give your permission, ask for help so that you can start to give yourself permission to rest That's number one. And number two, so that you can start to enjoy the small things. What do I mean by that? Maybe you, on that day of the week, if it's a Tuesday, that is the day that you go on a hike. So Tuesday afternoons, maybe you clock out work 30 minutes early, or you ask someone to help pick up your child from school. You do whatever you got to do. You move some things around, and all you do is take a hike and you listen to some music that you like, or listen to some affirmations. That will be officially your self-care, for that week. Let's say you love to get your nails done and you can't afford it. Maybe you look at some YouTube videos and you paint your own nails. Hopefully there's a shop that's affordable, that's not too far from you, and you can just go get your nails done. Can't afford to get your nails done? Maybe just go get a pedicure. But long story short, start to figure out what you can do small piece by small piece to start loving on yourself and pouring honey back into yourself. And I'm talking about small things because obviously there's big things, like maybe there's something in your shopping cart that you want to buy to treat yourself, a dress. Maybe there's some place you want to try, a comedy show, a restaurant you want to try with friends. Whatever it is, start to incorporate that ideally into your weekly routine, but if not, into a monthly routine of you specifically sitting down and intentionally letting your children know they're going to have to sit down for a second because you need a moment. If you have children that are of a very small age and you're a single parent, that's a little bit more challenging, especially if you don't have family or friends around. But part of what I want to do with my organization is create a safe space so that you can start to carve out time in groups with us. So what I mean by that is, like, let's say we meet once a week to take a hike. You don't have a babysitter, bring your child. Doesn't matter if your child has behavior issue, cries, whatever. We're not worried about that. We're here to help create a safe space for you to come outside and not talk about work, not talk about stress, enjoy some fresh air. And if you must bring your child, it's okay. It's really okay. But part of what happens, I know that I experienced this when I moved to Los Angeles, is you're being protective of yourself, you're being protective of your child. So figuring out how to have time for yourself is very difficult because this is not like the biggest family-friendly place. So I want to create more family-friendly things that we can do together, just so that as mothers, we can start to learn how to take a break. But I also want to create some mom-friendly things where even if you have to bring your child, like maybe my teenage daughter can like have the kids on one side and they're playing kickball or something like that, where you can still visually and know that your children are safe, but you can take a breath and maybe do a yoga class, or like I said, do a hike, or you can do something where you're like, I know my kids are safe because they're not that far from me, but I still am not, they're not, like, children are not right up underneath me, so I can take a moment to breathe. So the theme of today's episode is about creating that self-care discipline within yourself. Gas bill is due every month. Electricity bill is due every month. Rent is due every month. If you have a car note is due. Car insurance is due every month. And I want you to treat your self-care with the same discipline. Doing something for your spirit must be done every month. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear any excuses. Once a month, we're figuring out how to, this is a part of MILF Ministry. We are figuring out how to do something for our spirit once a month. Period. If you can afford to do something once a week, it's already once a week for you. And I don't want to hear it for you either. And the same rules apply. taking a walk at the beach, taking a hike, going to a yoga class, going to a comedy show, going to a karaoke night, painting your nails by yourself, going to the shop to paint your nails, maybe maybe you take care of your hair by yourself and you finally go get your hair done. I'm not talking about spending a lot of money. You can set a budget. It could be a $50 a month self-care budget. It could be a $100 a month self-care budget. But the most important thing is the time. I need you to set aside that time to take care of yourself. And it's not up for debate. If you're listening to this podcast, it is not up for debate. You are required. You are required by the authority invested in me as MILF minister. You are required to set aside some time for yourself. And as I said before, part of what I plan to do is create events that make it a little bit easier to get it done. But I also know that every single person listening has something that they love to do within their spirit. You do. It's been calling you. And so part of me saying that I have a dose of honey for you every episode is I want you to really, really understand the concept of honey for your spirit. And there is something that you love to do. And I want you to start taking steps towards that thing. Something that makes your heart sing. That's what I love to say. I love to say, what tickles your fancy? What makes your heart sing? I want you to start thinking about those things. And I want you to take a small step. Maybe you love dance. Maybe you want to be a cheerleader. Maybe you love art, fashion, makeup, whatever it is. I want you to take a small step towards that once a month. And once again, if you have the time and the capacity to do it every week, start doing it every week. If you can, do it. But at minimum, once a month. I want you, if you're interested in cooking, looking up some recipes on YouTube. HelloFresh is a great site where you can pick out some meals and go get the ingredients yourselves. You don't have to pay for the subscription. I just do a whole series on how to get around stuff and still figure out how to get what you want. Okay. But yes, HelloFresh has lots of great recipes online. Cook a fancy meal. There are, let's say you love fashion, get some of your girlfriends together and style them. If you're new to a city and you don't have girlfriends yet, style yourself. This is not about posting it on social media and making a big deal. This is for yourself. If you want to post. But this is really for your spirit. Get in your closet, move some clothes around, style some things for yourself. If you love doing hair, do the same thing. Do something that you wouldn't normally do with your hair. Do something different. Show off your talent, show off your skill. And I think this is really important for the mothers that listen to this podcast, because happy mothers tend to have happy children. Happy mothers tend to have successful children. And so I think it's important that your children see you and see that you're disciplined about enjoying yourself. A lot of times you hear people talk about, oh, my mother was a hard worker. She sacrificed so much. You know, she was at every game. She was at everything. She was everything. We need to humanize ourselves. It's okay to be tired. It's okay to need a moment. And everyone in our life needs to understand that, especially our children. Especially our children. They need to understand that. So at some point, I'm going to start, releasing the events that I'm hosting. At some point, I'll start to promote that stuff here on the podcast. But right now, I've really just been sorting through consistency. So the number one thing is uploading every week. It doesn't matter what. Once I get comfortable enough with the uploading that, then some of the other things I want to do, I can start to, to accomplish. And like I said, there's definitely going to be some dancing. There's definitely going to be some hike meetups because it's just important that I'm myself. And as I start to just create a space to share space with people that need an outlet, that need community, I think more things will come my way. And I'm going to start posting more community events because there are people that there's like run clubs in Los Angeles. There are women that go to brunch, and there's brunch clubs. I have a list of different comedy shows that I enjoy. There's art shows that happen in Los Angeles. There's tons of restaurants that are like even outside of the brunch club. They have live bands that happen in the evening, things like that. So there are things that are happening more and more. But I'm really excited to curate some events and for people to come out and enjoy things my way, and specifically music my way and comedy my way. And I'm really excited. That's all I can say. I'm really, really excited because I think I've spent a long time in my head waiting for someone else to give me permission to, I guess, validate that I can do some of the things I want to do. And I'm not in that headspace anymore. I'm definitely in the headspace of, if I have an idea, I'm trying to gather the people that I think can help me execute that idea properly, or to the best of our ability under the time constraints and everything that's going on. So where I am right now is there's a live music event that I want to do and a live comedy show that I want to do. Those are the two main like entertainment type events. And once again, in terms of wellness, hiking, dancing. And when I make these announcements, realistically, I think I'm going to focus on doing things monthly because I need to release content every week. I am a sports mom, so I have tons of games to attend. And I still want to have fun for myself. Like, I need to go to the beach because I want to go to the beach, or just take a hike for myself because I want to, take a hike, or go to the comedy show with my girlfriends or whatever. So I need to make sure that, as ambitious as I am with all of these things, that I'm also enjoying life myself, and I'm paying my own self-care bill, and I'm getting massages, and I'm getting my nails done, and I'm getting my hair done, and I'm, just figuring all these different things out. Whew. So, today's episode is not really going to be that long, but just know that today's episode is happening because I am committed to releasing episodes weekly. And I don't want to sit here and just go on and on and on about all the ideas in my head. I'd rather just execute them and say, okay, here, now I'm doing this. And you could come, once a month and find me here doing this. And we're meeting here at this park. And you can meet me once a month and we're doing this at this park. That's just how I am. And it's Still going to be interesting because before I was doing my episodes and I had no problem just talking to myself or talking to an imaginary audience who will eventually become a real audience. I had no problem doing that because I was not on camera. Something about being on camera, I'm just looking at myself like, but I'm going to get over it. I'm going to keep showing up. I'm going to keep being authentic. And today's episode is really just about my commitment to myself and showing up no matter what's going on, no matter what's happening. An episode is getting uploaded on Tuesday just for my own discipline and commitment to myself. An episode is going to go up. I want to give myself the permission and the freedom to allow my podcast to grow organically. I definitely want to do more interviews, but I'm realizing that it is just a lot for me to keep up with. And what I mean by that is like scheduling the batch recordings, editing the episodes, and uploading them pretty much by myself is something that's kind of difficult to keep up with. It's because if it's just me, I can kind of cut the beginning part, cut the end part, and go through real quick and cut. When I have guests, I have to think about everything that they said. Do they want that to be public? You know what I mean? I have to think about the flow between us. You know, am I talking too much? Are they, you know, is there a balance? And I'm realizing after, I think I've done about 7 or 8 interviews this year, I'm realizing that I'm going to need a team to help keep at least the interview part of this podcast up. And I think what's going to happen next for me is I need to pull up a list of topics that I really am comfortable talking about with or without a guest, and recording some of those episodes so that if there's a week where things are just not going how I need them to go, I have some episodes already ready that are technically just solo episodes. So I need to figure that part out. And then navigate, you know, weaving the interviews in and out, because I love interviewing people, and it's not even really an interview, it's more of a conversation. So I just love that energy flow between me and other people, especially if we're talking about something that we both are passionate about. So whether it's music, comedy, or whatever the person's career happens to be, I really like that energy exchange. So I'm going to have to give myself grace on these solo episodes to still come with positive energy, to still come with genuine energy, and to also come prepared with some sort of subject of like, okay, today we're going to talk about self-care, but, you know, maybe I actually have specific topics, or not necessarily topics. I think maybe I think for now, when I'm doing a solo episode, I'll focus on what I know. I'll talk about music. I'll talk about things that made me laugh that week. And I'll talk about my feelings, because let's be honest, I can talk about my feelings forever. So, you know, for everyone that's tuning in and watching me grow and develop, I really appreciate your support. I have 30 subscribers now. I appreciate that. And I'm going to keep being disciplined and keep posting content. I'm excited to see what's on the other side of me being disciplined and committed to myself with uploading content weekly. I know that the episodes will get better. I know that the interviews will get better. I know that I have literally nothing to lose by committing to myself. And so me sitting here and showing up today is literally letting me know that I'll be okay. Because I promise you, some of the days that I get up to record an interview, I don't feel like recording. I really don't. There's typically some unplanned fire that happens that I'm just kind of like, oh my gosh, I thought my daughter had a ride here because I'm recording today and this and that. And she's like, oh, I know I don't have a ride. I'm like, I'm recording. Or, maybe I have people scheduled to come and they can't come and then they can come and, trust me, by the time I sit down to record, I've done a lot of deep breathing and I've done a lot of just letting go and going with the flow. And I'm excited to see what I'm going to flow into. And I'm also committed to moving more with my intuition and moving more from my gut. And like I said, once again, everything in my spirit is telling me more community events, do more things your way with your DNA, with your imprint on it. And so I'm trying to get very specific with what I want to do and how I want it to look and how I want it to feel. And right now I'm really focused on building a team to help me execute that. And I'm just ready to share more life and more joy with everyone. And I look forward to sharing joy in life and not just exercising and things like that, but just like, if you're a listener, I look forward to one day saying, once a month, I'm going to sponsor your self-care. That's my number one goal, to not just say, oh, you should get a massage, you should take a hike, you should do this. I look forward to saying, hey, we're meeting here at this park and I'll be there. We're going to walk together because I'm actually supporting your self-care. I look forward to saying, this month, I'm paying for a listener's massage. I'm paying for a listener to go to the spa. These are the type of things I'm looking forward to doing. And I would love for it to be sponsored, corporate sponsorship, but I'm looking forward to doing it regardless, sponsorship or not, because this is not me just saying, oh, yep, do this. This is me saying, no, I believe in it so much. I'm facilitating this. And I want to see the shift in your spirit. And I want to pay it forward because of how it's blessed my life. The ability to say, you know what? I'm not going to work today. I'm going to use some PTO today because I literally need the mental break. And I want to create an environment where I can help more women do that. And once again, you may not be able to take the whole day off. You literally may only be able to take an hour off. I don't care. I want you to do it. And I want you to get into the habit of doing it once a month, where that hour is for you and you only. If you want to share it with your kids, if you want to take them to Yogurtland, you know what I mean? You want to do something with them, that's cool because that's what you chose to do. But the hour is specifically for you and your spirit and doing something that brings you joy, which is why I'm saying walk on the beach, massage, nails done, hair done. If you're into sewing, you're sewing some stuff. You're strictly looking at fashion. You're on Pinterest putting together looks. You're on Pinterest thinking about how you want to decorate a certain room in your house for you. But yes, I think I'll stop there. Thanks for listening to this episode of MILF Ministry. My name is Ayodele. I'm your host. I can be found at MILF Ministry across most platforms. That's YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. And today was all about understanding the concept of your self-care bill and encouraging everyone to set aside some time every month to take care of their spirit. And if you can, setting aside some time once a week to take care of your spirit and understanding how that is attached to your overall health, your overall motherhood, and just your overall enjoyment in life. Okay. And that's it. See you next week.